All right. Happy Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. It is what it is. You already know. Another day, another dollar, another Monday Night Live show. Super, super excited. Hopefully, first off, everyone's out there safe, had a great weekend. Woo! There's a lot going on out here in this world and in our city and in our region. And I am super, super, super excited, y'all. You know, we be having our special guests, and I am so excited for the special guests we have on our platform tonight. So we gonna get this popping because this man working, like he at work for real, for real. So we gonna get into this conversation with the one and only Mr. State Senator Brian Williams. What's going on, man? What's going
What's
on?
up? What's up? What's up? I'm loving this platform, and I'm loving that background. I've seen it before, but I never get tired of your background back there. My
You know,
background just seems so plain compared to yours. I got to get some art back here or something.
you
I'm
know,
at
you
work though, so I'm at work, so we keep it kind of minimalist in the office, but it's cool.
yeah, you have to. So first, before we get into any official business, just let the people know if they don't know who you are. Who are you? Who you be?
Yeah, absolutely. First, thank you for having me on. It's really an honor to be on with you. You're somebody I think just do great work, and you really like getting the information to the people. So I'm really excited to be on Monday Night Live. But for me, I'm a son of the community. I grew up in St. Louis by way of Ferguson, Missouri. Oldest child of a single mother who to this day is still my hero. And my mom and my grandmother, that was my village, taught me just if I saw problems in the world, I had a responsibility to do my part and just fix what I could where I could. So that led me here to the state senate clearly. And then in 2018, I became the first Black man elected to the Missouri Senate in 20 years.
Damn. Oh, I'm muted. So, question for you: who do you represent? Like, what municipalities? What's your? Can you kind of let folks know what your district is? Because you have a very diverse district.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to consider my district to be the model for the state. So I have some of the wealthiest communities like Clayton and Ladue on the south. And then I have some of the more poverty stricken communities like Kinlock and Berkeley, Jennings, Ferguson, where I grew up, various communities in North St. Louis County. That's about 40 municipalities. And I have 11 public school districts. Um, Again, school districts from Ferguson, Florissant, Hazelwood to Ladue. Clearly, I'm a Hazelwood school district alum. Um, Schools like Jennings, and again, it gives me just a snapshot of really our state, where you just get to see so many different backgrounds, socioeconomic statuses. We got, again, communities that have a lot of challenges and some communities that don't.
Yeah, thank you for lifting that up. I think sometimes we get lost in this like kind of I guess divisive space. So it's really great to hear how diverse your district is and how you're doing your part again because that is I feel like a representation of our state. So shout out to you for that. But before we get into the business real quick, I had on the record, I gotta congratulate you. You know what I'm saying, with your little new addition, you know what I'm saying? So
Thank you. Thank you.
congratulations, cause
Yeah, I became a dad, and to Brock Christopher Williams, and it's you know I- to become a dad, and I thought I knew what love was, and I realized once I had a son, I did not know what love was until I met him, and I didn't think it was possible to love anybody as much as I love him, and I've only known him for a month since Saturday, but has really changed my life in such a positive way, and it really just put even more responsibility, not only just as a black father, but raising a black son, to fight and advocate and make sure that we got a state that provides a space for him and other Black kids in our state to be safe and be able to grow up in an environment that they deserve.
Yes, and that is a strong sounding name. I have to say that is a solid name.
I
Okay, that is
appreciate
a
that.
solid name. Yeah, destined for greatness. I mean, that's like a solid name.
Yeah, definitely prayed about it, and you know how it is. It's village.
Yes. So we're gonna get into the business because I know, like I said, you working. I know one of the things that you are extremely passionate about is gun reform. So I know the last time we spoke on Monday Night Live, you mentioned some legislation that you had pre-filed before the session officially kicked off. So can you kind of remind the folks kind of what that legislation, if passed, what it would do, and feel free also to share an update on where that is legislatively.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if I believe it was the last time we spoke, we talked about Senate Bill 254,
Mm-hmm.
and in 2015, a 21-year-old white supremacist shot and killed nine black churchgoers at one of America's oldest black churches, and that was in Charleston, South Carolina. So the next year, before I was elected, the Missouri Republicans passed legislation to enact permitless carry in Missouri. So under this law, people with no training as young as 19 can purchase and carry a concealed gun. And this bill was vetoed by then Governor Nixon, but the Republican legislature overrode the veto. So, as we know, Kelly, guns are the leading cause of death among children and teens in Missouri. Missouri has the fifth highest rate of gun homicides and gun assaults in the U.S. And then also in Missouri, the rate of deaths increased 47% from 2010 to 2019. So compared to only a 17% increase nationwide. So what we recognize to notice is that things are not getting better; they're getting worse. So that's why I filed Senate Bill 254, and what it would do is reinstate Missouri's concealed carry permit law for firearms, and basically it'll require those to register and provide documentation that they've received some type of training to carry a gun in our state. Right now, we're working through the process. That bill is going to be before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and we'll be working to try to get this across the finish line because bottom line is guns have plagued and hurt our community, in particular Black communities, and we need to get the guns off the streets. And if the guns are going to be on the streets, we need to make sure they're in the hands of the right people.
Right. At a bare minimum, I'm still like gagging over here that like we have to like this is something that we have to do. Like I'm still like that just doesn't seem right. However, again, we're trying to move the needle in the right direction because what's currently in place clearly it ain't working for us in our communities.
Absolutely.
I guess did you have any other efforts regarding gun reform or like is there anything that you wanted to lift up as well that people may not be aware of or know about?
Absolutely. What we got to remember too, clearly, it's important to get laws in place that make our streets safer. Clearly, get guns off the streets, but it's also stopping bad legislation. Since I've been in the Senate, every year I serve on the Senate um, Transportation Committee, which also deals with bills pertaining to public safety. And every year, I've been able to defeat bills that want to allow guns on college campuses, which is a recipe for a disaster. Wanting to put guns on public transportation like MetroLink. In my district, I have the most MetroLink stops in any part of the city, of the region. That's picking up students at UMSL, WashU, um, kids that are going to the airport, getting off at the Delmar Loop. I have all of those stops, and they're going through so many different communities, and to think that they want to make laws that allow people to be able to carry guns on a metro link, and if somebody in a very small close quarter like that starts shooting, you can almost count on it hitting the innocent bystander. So when you think about young people taking the Metro Link, our seniors, people in the community, it only creates an environment where people aren't safe. And
So
one thing I want is for our community to be safe again and not be in harm's way. So we defeat, I've been able to defeat bills like that from going into law. And also, we just recently had a um, recent court ruling on the Second Amendment Preservation Act. They called it SAPA. And basically, what that did was nullify federal gun laws. We passed that through the legislature. I was strongly opposed to it. And thank God the courts ruled it unconstitutional.
and I learned about that. Listen to a Board of Alderman meeting, unfortunately, not too long after the unfortunate shooting at Central Visual and Performing Arts High School. And the Board of Alderman legislator, they were trying to figure out, like, what are ways, like, what are some challenges when we're talking about gun law reforms, and what are things that we can do. We know at the state level it's a lot going on, including that law which was found unconstitutional, thankfully, but I'm really trying to think of ways locally, the city of St. Louis can try to prevent a lot of this from happening with all these guns on the streets. And so they were talking about that law and just how much of a challenge that was when we're talking about our law enforcement feeling like their hands are tied. So I was really happy to hear like that it was found unconstitutional too.
Yeah, we felt positive that it would be, but again, you never know. So we were just grateful the courts was on the right side of this issue.
Yeah, see, I'm telling you, sometimes we need them W's. We need them W's, whether it's
Absolutely,
capital
for sure.
or W, especially when we're talking about the well-being of our communities. So speaking of the well-being of our communities, I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about this because I've been talking to folks. The streets be talking. Streets always be talking,
Stay talking.
especially all day, every day. And so, people have been talking about the police department, possibly being taken over by the state. And so, obviously, this is something that the voters voted on as far as us having local control. However, it seems like it may potentially go back. So, can you speak to that a little bit as far as if this bill, because I know the House, they passed, I forget what the number bill is, but I know it had passed earlier this month. Can you speak
Yeah,
to like
it's
what
House Bill 702.
yeah, so can you speak to kind of what is that given? Who are these people, this board, and all of that stuff? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. So again, for your listeners, and it's really important, and that's why I'm grateful that you had this platform to let us really talk about the facts and the nuance, because sometimes we hear about this stuff on the news and everything, but it's a very nuanced, complex situation because some people don't know the history, right? So when you think about state versus local control of St. Louis City Police Department, and keep in mind, we're talking about the police department in the city of St. Louis, not St. Louis County, not some of the police departments and cities that I represent in municipalities, but it's particularly the city of St. Louis. And a lot of this was about the narrative of stopping crime. And I tell people if the key to stopping crime was state control of a police department, then there'll be no crime in Kansas City. And if the key to stopping crime was local control of a police department, there'll be no crime anywhere in Missouri. So to truly make our streets safer, we must keep dangerous weapons out of the hands of dangerous people. The debate over local control of St. Louis police, in my opinion, is a distraction. I think it's an excuse for lawmakers to continue ignoring Missouri's gun violence epidemic. So when you define the issue in 2012, um, Missouri voters approved returning control of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department to the city of St. Louis for the first time since the Civil War. And then in 2023, legislation has been filed to put St. Louis Police Department back under state control. So the St. Louis Police Officers Association supported this legislation, and then the Missouri House voted overwhelmingly to advance its version which was House Bill 702, to the Senate on I believe a 113 to 40 vote, with three lawmakers voting present. So it'll come to the Senate, and again, it's such an important issue when you think about during the 10 years in which St. Louis police was under local control. Republican lawmakers here in Jeff City, they also weakened Missouri gun laws, resulting to more violent crime across the state and St. Louis. And then in 2012, Missouri Republicans passed legislation to do a couple things. They lowered the minimum age to carry a concealed gun in Missouri from 21 to 19. They also prevent local government from limiting the open carry of firearms, so there's no local control. They ban healthcare providers, including mental health providers, from noting if a patient owned a gun in their medical records. And then they also made it harder for local government to host a gun buyback event. So, declaring 5 categories of federal firearm laws invalid, nullifying federal gun laws, and then prohibit Missouri law enforcement from enforcing these federal gun laws. And it ultimately allowed people to sue local law enforcement for $50,000 for violating this law. I believe from 2016 to 2020, we've seen an increase in firearm homicides that increased 50%, from 177 to 266. And I'm convinced it's been all because of guns and the lack of laws put in place to prevent them from being in the hands of people that shouldn't have.
You know, what I'm just like in awe of is just the pure lack of, I mean, where people are about local control, but we pick and choose in the state. Like that's what it feels like to me. And I just, well, I'm gonna be quiet about that. But
Yeah,
I
and
just, it's just really
and
frustrating.
keep in mind, guns are now the leading cause of death among children and teens in Missouri. As I stated earlier, Missouri has the fifth highest rate of gun homicides and gun assaults in the U.S. So, in fact, Missouri's rate of gun deaths increased 47% from 2010 to 2019, compared to only a 17% increase nationwide. So, our state is leading in gun
Yeah,
homicides and gun assaults in our country. And I'm not convinced
yeah,
having weak gun laws is mutually exclusive to who oversees the police department.
yeah.
And,
I
and just like I said, I wanted to state those facts for people that are listening, because it's so important to know the history and know what's going on. Until Missouri gets honest about its gun violence epidemic, legislation to force a state takeover of the police department is just a distraction, and I don't think it provides no real solution.
I agree. So I've got a question for you. This might be a bit loaded or a heavy question. But I know again you are, really trying to spearhead some efforts around just really getting some serious gun reform laws on the books here in our state. Because to your point, that's the root cause. That's we're seeing these numbers. It's because of the guns. The accessibility of guns in our communities and on the streets. How do you like? What do you think it would take for our state legislatures to really, for Jefferson City folks, everybody, D's, R's, and in between, to be able to come together and really, again, truly address these issues? Because this is getting, those numbers you stated, I know people out in the community, they feel that too. It's too easy to get these guns out here. So I'm just
Absolutely.
curious to get your opinion, insight on what will it take for our legislators to get to work on this and really address the root cause of these problems.
Absolutely. So first, we have to be honest about, again, the gun violence epidemic. When I filed Senate Bill 254 to reinstate Missouri's concealed carry permit law for firearms, it was solely with the fact that I cannot look another child in the face or a parent and know that I'm not doing everything I possibly can to keep their children and their family safe. And that was the reason why I filed that legislation and continue to fight against any policies that want to make it easier for people to get access to guns. We also need to implement a red flag law to close the domestic violence loophole, and then also support the idea behind um, prohibiting a person under the age of 18 from carrying a firearm on public property without the supervision of a guardian. You know, those are some things that we have to do, and we have to understand that wanting to keep our community safe, wanting to keep guns out of the hands of the wrong people shouldn't be a partisan position. It shouldn't be a Democrat or Republican issue. It should be really a common goal that we all share. We should want to do everything we can to keep our community safe. We should want to do everything we can to give law enforcement the tools that they need to be able to do their job the right way. You know, the police department, they say that there's no minimum age to lawfully possess a firearm. In fact, walking down the street with a weapon in our city is not a crime in the state of Missouri. So this means in Missouri, a kid can walk down the street with a loaded gun and police cannot do anything about it. And this must change. And if we want to get serious about making St. Louis and all of our state a safer place to live and work, we got to be open and honest about the fact that we have a gun violence epidemic and we need to do something about it. And I'm going to continue to fight every single day that I'm here to ensure that Missouri become a safer place and not an easier place for people to get guns.
Are there ways that us little people, I always say us little people, but are there ways that Missourians, us little regular residents, that we can support these efforts at all?
Well, one, the little people you're referring to is called democracy, and democracy is the reason that I'm here today. So y'all little people had a big voice that sent me and other colleagues of mine here to Jefferson City and other bodies of government. There needs to be accountability in place. We need to be asking our elected officials what have they done for us lately to make our community safer. And when it comes to those who support um, making it easier for people to get guns, we really need to do some soul searching and determine why we support those folks. You know, again, and we'll get more into it on some things that are happening on a positive note here in Jeff City. But we voted to pass a lot of progressive initiatives through the initiative petition process, which is under attack. And yet we still vote to elect elected officials who are strongly opposed to those progressive policies that voters have voted for on the ballot to go into law through constitutional amendment. So, we got to do some soul searching, and you got to make sure that you're voting for the right people. And then the people you are voting for, you need to hold them accountable and make sure they're fighting for your interest.
So yes, y'all, our voices are powerful and they matter. Our votes are everything. So you heard it. You heard it here. You heard it from the
Yep.
safe city. Okay.
It's all about this.
Um,
Yeah, the people matter.
they we re- yeah. So I know there's a lot of gloom and doom. I mean, like it seems like I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not trying to diss I went to Metro High School, go Panthers, and I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, but like, I I remember watching, the boys basketball team. They would play the games. They're much better. They're a better team now, but some of those teams
Oh, no, you
they're getting
sure? You
they're getting
positive?
better. Don't be do not be
I'm just
trying to
making
do that.
sure.
Nope,
Hey,
nope,
I'm
you're
just
not about to do
asking.
that on this
I'm just asking.
platform. Mm-mm.
I'm just
You're not
asking.
about to do that. But I will say, yeah, they're doing way better than when I went there. I mean, those boys, bless their hearts, was getting blown out 30, 40 points every game. It's not like that now. But when I went to Metro, the boys team, it was rough. And so, but they still suited up and they played like they played hard. They got beat, but they play hard. And I have respect, you know what I'm saying, for people that go out and they compete and they fight and they do what they can,
Absolutely.
even when it seems like the numbers and the odds are against them. So like it's a lot. And I try to tell people because people get, people been getting a little in their feelings because their state legislators, maybe they're not as responsive, or I ain't heard from them. I'm like, do you realize every damn week they are fighting a huge battle? I mean, literally, it's like every week it is something. So it just seemed like it's been a lot of gloom and doom this session. But I like to talk about something that can provide a little, warm our hearts a little bit, maybe a little smile, something. So are there any bright spots, anything like positive, good notes, good energy, good vibes that you want to share with us that's happening in Jeff City? Please share it.
No, absolutely. And and it really is when you just think about a lot of things that are happening in our community, whether it's the shooting at Central Visual Performing Arts High School, or just, deaths that we see in our community every day, the violence, the gun violence. It's really easy just to really feel that there's no positive or bright spots happening in our state, but there are. We have some potential positive outcomes from this session that have happened in the budget. We got $859 million to widen and rebuild the I-70 corridor. So everybody that's riding on their way to Kansas City or going up to Columbia to see loved ones that go to Mizzou or wherever, just traveling anywhere, or even coming to the Capitol to make sure your voice heard in Jefferson City. To widen that highway is going to make it not only easier to travel on, but also safer. We also got record funding in K through 12, so raising the minimum teacher pay from 25,000 to 38,000, and we need to raise it even higher. But that's a positive step in the right direction. We also got 56 million to expand pre-kindergarten for children from low-income families. That's going to be a game changer for families that are want their kids to get quality early childhood education before they start school. We've seen that kids are coming into school now and they're not prepared for school. They don't know how to read, and this is going to put those kids on the trajectory to be great students. We got 275 million for improvement projects at Missouri's public colleges and universities. Some of that funding is going to revitalize the UMSL corridor, which I got 40 million to work towards UMSL South Campus. We're looking at a patient healthcare facility on that Natural Bridge corridor, which there's no healthcare facility anywhere in that part of the region. We're looking at putting a grocery store anchor there so people can get access to healthy foods. And then we're also looking to put a Cortex 2 there, which could work on providing opportunities for women and people of color that are looking to go into entrepreneurship or receiving some level of workforce training. So we're really proud of that. And then also we put 7%, which is 71 million increase into the core funding for Missouri's public higher education institutions, which is the largest increase in 25 years. And that's also going towards institutions like our community colleges in St. Louis as well.
Yeah, y'all heard that. So, I mean, it's still a lot. It's still a lot we got to work through and work on. But there are some things, there's some coins, y'all. There are some things, some positive things that have come out of this session thus far.
And in past sessions, Kelly, we talked about this before. I'm very passionate about criminal justice reform. We passed Senate Bill 60 a year ago. That was the same bill that not only created in Missouri today one of the strongest use of force databases. We also, that bill I passed and sponsored had a provision called a motion to vacate, which, as we know, freed Kevin Strickland in Kansas City and just recently freed Lamar Johnson. Two gentlemen that were wrongfully convicted of a crime they did not commit. One was there in prison for 43 years, and Lamar was there for almost 30. We were able to pass legislation that addressed things around expungement. Right now, we're focusing on clean slate expungement, which will allow people to get an automatic expungement, have a central database to know where to get their records, and then ultimately help them clean up their records for felony and misdemeanor nonviolent offenses, which we know will allow people to get jobs and
Yeah.
ultimately become model citizens. After they've made a mistake, which we all make mistakes. So
Hmm.
it's some positive things that are happening, but definitely a lot more work to do.
Yeah, but hey, it's something happening.
Absolutely.
So I did want to ask you, we're, past a little bit past the halfway mark of the session. Are there things that you're really looking forward to as far as any legislation or bills or like anything as the session kind of comes to a close? Because I know it's going to be ramping up. It's going to be ramping up.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, that clean slate expungement uh,
Mhm.
bill is going to be really important. Please follow that. What that does is that allows us to again create a central database for people to find their records and get their records expunged. We're going to be doing um, expungement clinics in St. Louis, so please look out for that. We'll be partnering with different organizations to allow people to be able to come and complete the petition to get their records cleared. We're also, with that legislation, will do away with the petition filing fee, which is $200. So clearly, we want to make sure people that are unable to pay or low income are not hit with another barrier by eliminating that petition filing fee. And then we're also really excited about some things we're working on in terms of just being able to get more resources and money back to the St. Louis region. Clearly, we want to make sure that we're addressing things around vacant properties and desolate buildings. Clearly, making sure communities like Kinlock is getting the funding to get cleanup. We're looking at trying to clean up things like Washington Park Cemetery, which is a historic Black cemetery that is in terrible condition. So, we're focusing on quite a few things, and I would encourage your listeners to please go to our website, which is senatorbrianwilliams.com. And on my site, it talks about a lot of things that we're focusing on this session, clearly things that we're doing locally in St. Louis, and then sign up for our newsletter so you can get updates on things that we're working on and that we're focused on. But that last day of session is May 12th. So we're in the second half of the session. We're going to be looking to finish strong, continue to block bad legislation, and try to get some really strong stuff across the finish line.
Man. Ooh, and I appreciate you plug because I was gonna say, like, how can people stay updated with all of those things? So shout out to you for that. See, you a professional, okay? You just you hit them with that. Um, did you have any other special announcements or anything?
Now,
Any other?
one thing I will say is that I want the community to really stay just inspired and understand that our best days are ahead of us. Pay attention to what's happening not only at the state level but what's happening locally. As I'm sure you've been talking about this a lot, but we got upcoming elections coming up
Oh
next Tuesday, which will be determining who new members of the St. Louis City Board of Aldermen are for those that live in the county. They're going to have a lot of school board races, which I know there's been a lot of crazy hate conversations around critical race theory, which we know
yeah.
is not taught in our schools. We got a lot of people trying to infiltrate our public schools and ultimately ban books and things like that. So really stay woke and pay attention to these local elections because they have such a significant impact. And then on the state level, something that you need to watch out for, the Missouri House of Representatives approved House Joint Resolution 43. And what that would do is make it harder for voter initiatives to get on the ballot. And this will come before the Senate probably as early as this week or maybe next week. So, over the years, Missouri has passed several issues through the initiative petition process. That's including recreational marijuana,
Yep.
Medicaid expansion,
Mm-hmm.
and a minimum wage hike. And they also, now pay attention, this is the kicker. They also elected a Republican majority that is opposed to these policy issues. So now the GOP want to make it harder for voters to approve anything. So the GOP bill to raise the percentage of votes needed to pass a proposed change to the Missouri Constitution from a simple majority to 60%. So this is almost impossible, an impossible threshold. It would effectively kill the initiative petition process. So please pay attention to that. HJR 43. I will be fighting it. I am not in support of it. I think it's a true um, suppression tactic to infringe on democracy and really keep the people from participating in the democratic process. We want to have a progressive state. And the only thing we got to do now is make sure we stop electing people that are opposed to these policy issues.
That is just that one really just pisses me off.
Yeah. The
But
people have spoken, and then they want to go back and try to
exactly,
tell the people they didn't know what they were doing.
exactly. Like, are you listening to us or no? I mean, because it is for us, right? We the people, right? But
Absolutely.
pick
And
and choose.
voters are smart.
Pick and choose. So I'm gonna wrap up because again, I know busy man.
Yeah, we still in session, and but I wanted to definitely take some time off the floor and show you some love on Monday Night Live. And I tell you, this is a dope platform that allow us to talk about issues, that allow people to be what I believe is really important. Government works best when it's close to the people, Kelly, and that's one thing you've been able to do. Keep the people close to government, keep the people informed, let them know what's up. And there's a lot of stuff that's happening here in Jefferson City and in our communities, and we need to stay woke.
Yeah. So kudos to you. Like I said, thank you for hopping on because I know you are, doing the people's work in Jefferson City. So thank you. We will be in touch. And take care. Keep fighting the fight for us.
Hey, thanks for having me. And again, this is a dope platform, and I'm just grateful for you and everybody that's listening on Monday Night Live. Stay plugged in, and just again, government work best when it's close to the people, and the people is what's up.
Cool. Well, yeah, have fun.
All right, much love. Y'all take care. Peace.
Take care. So yeah, y'all. That's it. But I did want to be sure, as the state senator said, we have so many elections coming up next week. Next week is it, y'all, with these municipal elections. And your girl, yes, Kelly, will be in the flesh because we will be talking about all of these elections. And not one, but two different in-person events and activities coming up. So on Thursday, we have our Kicking It for a Cause situation. My girl Vanna, who my, partner in all things community. It'll be her and my homie. I mean, I've known this man for over 30 years of my life, AP, aka Alan Perkins. He will be in the building. We're going to do our thing as we did last year. We're going to continue it. So yeah, we're going to get into these elections in the city and the county. And we also have another opportunity you can engage with us talking about what will be on the ballots in the city and the county next Monday. Actually, me and the homie Vanna will be doing an in-person Monday Night Live at the Gephardt Institute Sticks House on Forsyth on WashU's campus. We'll also be streaming as well if you ain't trying to get on WashU's campus or whatever it is, because I know that can be a bit of a headache for folks. But please feel free to come. It's free parking. Folks gonna be fed, and we are gonna get into the conversation like we always do. So y'all have those opportunities to connect with us. Please stay tapped in. This is a very, very important time, y'all. And I ain't trying to be extra or dramatic. This is a very important time for our region. So we have to tap in. We have to engage. We got to show up to the polls, and we have to vote. We have to make sure we know who we voting on, who and why, and what we're voting on and why. This is extremely important and critical time in our region. The city, I mean, we going from 28 to 14 wards, y'all. We're going to have a whole new city, basically, with a whole new board of aldermen. And in the county, it's some interesting municipal elections. So like I said, we'll get into the specifics at those events I mentioned. Thursday night at the Contemporary Art Museum, doors open at 6. And then next Monday at Sticks House on WashU's campus. They'll start feeding people, I think, around 6:30, and then we'll get into the conversation at our usual time at 7. So y'all, please be safe out there. Stay tuned, tap in, make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms. And hopefully I see y'all on Thursday, or maybe next week in person. But if not, please stay safe out there. And again, make sure you go and vote next Tuesday. So holla at y'all later. Stay safe out there. Peace.